goal, Quishbilly, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Happy Easter and up the fucking town. The Easter weekend, typically a season maker or breaker, and Town have risen up the league and find ourselves outside of the relegation zone for the first time since August, 36 games ago. We'll be gorging ourselves on chocolate eggs and probably some La Liga highlights, Mr. Kosmala, but mostly on a welcome turnaround for the Terriers. I'm Matt Shaw. With me today, I've got Jonny and the Easter Kosi as we look back over the games against Watford and Blackburn and the news in HD1 and HD2. Magic Rock sponsor this podcast, of course. So if you go to www.magicrockbrewing.com and put something into that basket there, a couple of decent beers, maybe some Town Lager, use our code of AHTTC10 and that will get you 10% off at checkout. Okay, boys, let's get into it. So Easter came, the eggs came, the bunny came, and we got 4 points from 2 games. A fantastic turnaround from Neil Warnock's boys. The first game up, we got Huddersfield Town 2, Blackburn Rovers 2. So here are some stats for you. Huddersfield Town completed just 63 passes in this game, which is the fewest by any team on record since Opta began collating in 2013. David Kasumu had a passing accuracy of 11%. However, also at halftime, in the last 5 halves of football, up to halftime, I should say, Town had averaged 21% possession, but yet scored 9 goals, which is phenomenal. We certainly won't be winning any style points, but I can tell you something, boys. Not a single fuck will be given in Huddersfield if this keeps us up from now to the end of the season, will it, Jonny?
No, absolutely none. It doesn't matter. It's all about points, isn't it? Not how we play. We're not looking to kind of like create a style. Warnock's not that type of manager, nor is he probably going to be here for the long term. So it's completely irrelevant. It's purely about getting the points. But as we were saying before we hit record, whether it's through blue and white tinted glasses or not, I don't necessarily feel that watching the game feels as bad as the stats show. I've had a few fans from other clubs send screenshots to me of like percentages of possession and stuff like that. I'm thinking, like what's going on? Have you won this? Have you won that game? But certainly from watching the Borough game, the Watford game, and being at the Borough game, being at the Blackburn game, and watching the Watford game, I don't feel it comes across that way. We've been on receiving end of games where we've not been in them, and we've done 24% possession. It's been horrendous. And maybe because we've scored goals and it takes away a little bit of that. Maybe a neutral might have a more pragmatic view than us, but I feel we've been in games. And like if you look at the game today, in the first half, they only had one more shot on target than what we did, even though they've had, we only had 19% possession. So it's not yielding many more chances. The Watford game was close when you look at shots on goal versus what we did. And I feel we were in those games. Less so today than Watford, but I don't think it doesn't seem to come across that we're so low on possession. I don't know, like I say, opinions people might have from watching that, but I feel it's still exciting to watch. We're very direct, yeah, but we're not long ball by any means. We're taking our chances and countering when we get them, and it's enjoyable. We're scoring goals, and possession is one thing, but for me, the fact we've scored the amount of goals we've scored in these 3 or 4 games is uncanny compared to the rest of the season and the years previous. So long may it continue. Long may it continue. I'll happily register under 20% possession and the lowest past stats since records began if we get the points, because I couldn't care less at this stage.
Kosi, you're a man who's I won't say bro, but you're a man who's feasted upon tiki-taka football, haven't you, over the last 10 years? A man who goes to Spain to watch the good stuff. But you're loving this as well, aren't you? And, that first goal kind of summed Huddersfield Town up, really. Set-piece delivery of Jack Rudoni, head back across, and there's a little bit of a ricochet or two, and the ball flies up, and there he is, 4 goals in 3 games. Matty Pearson, baby.
Unbelievable. Wild scenes behind the goal as well. And then we get another one that we about 6 minutes later and that as well. But yeah, it needs most. But like Jonny says, it's really strange. It's almost like we don't feel you're watching, I don't know, like kind of hoofball, Bob Eagles, Wimbledon, going back even further and stuff like that as well. It's
big old.
It's up and at them, innit? And but quickly getting forward. I think the thing that I really like about it, and even when we were 2-0 up, I think we got a corner and we're sending everyone forward again. There's no one like, the big boys are going up, with Helix, Pearsons, even Leeds. So it's like we are looking to, kind of catch in as well. And it reminded me a little bit of last season with the set piece. Lovely floating corner, went it from Rudoni and then kind of headed back across. But yeah, it's it's very strange, isn't it? Deceptive, some of the stats, some of the stuff. It just feels bonkers, like the last 4 games. The stuff that people are kind of throwing at us with the stats as records began, and second half, I think they had 8 shots on target. We didn't have any, and it was always going to be a tough, battle to keep hold of the game in the second half as well. But I still thought we threw a few bombs going forward as well, even though no shots on target.
Still some chances where there was just the final ball just lacked, didn't it?
How many times did we see like 60% possession, 55% possession the following one, and you were bored to tears? You were nothing.
Well, Fothers was pretty much. He had the same defensive side, but we never really got out. We never figured out how to get forward with it, and that's really. And Jack Rudoni's got the second goal there. Nice run by Hungbo, nice little step over, low cross. A Football Manager staple, isn't it, Jonny, where you set your low crosses in and it always pays dividends, doesn't it? And then Jack Rudoni's in 2 goals, 2 games. Nice finish with his right foot. And, Jack Rudoni's playing in a position which he probably wants to play in, which is as, a number 10 or second striker, if you like, or shadow striker, if we're going to go Football Manager again. He's ghosting in, and that's a really nice finish for 2 in 2. And, Huddersfield Town are keeping things simple, aren't they? That's how we're getting out of this, bothering them maybe. I think Danny Schofield certainly overcomplicated things. When you think back to Yuta Nakayama playing as that inverted wing back, he was going into central midfield at one point and then out to the left and then back in, and there was so much going on at times there. And Neil Warnock just come in, got everybody believing again, everybody confident, real, master man manager, and he's kept things simple, and that's what we do. And it's basic football in terms of what we do is we play the ball forward early and we try and turn the opposition so they're facing their own goal, and then that wins you. It wins you possession, or it wins you a throw in, it wins you a corner, and it just gets you further up the pitch. And then we'll throw the ball in the box. We don't pass it around. We just get it in there and see what happens.
Peo's been sensational, Matt, and absolutely feeding on scraps, getting kicked all over in the last few games. But again today, he could hardly walk. There were times I thought he's injured, he's not fit. I'm going to mention Danny Ward, absolutely sensational. I think if they announced tomorrow he went out for the rest of the season, I think he could be
struggling,
recovering from. I don't think there's anyone else can do what he does. And I think when he came back, obviously kind of a few critics wanted it, saying, Danny, he's a different player, Matt, and obviously from when he was the young Danny Ward that we had the first time. And
he's a clever player, isn't it? He's clever now, is Danny Ward. He's a clever player.
I mean, obviously the goal will come in the Watford game later on, but I think he got the goal given straight away, didn't he, by the press association? But obviously it ended up, being Matty Pearson. But yeah, I just love what he brings, and as well as how hard must that job be? I mean, obviously none of us are centre forwards, but you're barely going to touch it, and when you do, you've got to make it stick and bring others into play. You're going to get battered, kind of with centre backs as well. But he just comes and he just works so hard for the team and that as well. And I think most players at this stage of the season are very rare that they're 100% fit. Everyone's carrying bumps and bruises. But honestly, I just have to applaud the guy today, because I thought he were absolutely sensational.
So it's off the ball as well, isn't it? The amount of times he has to run from one side, or he's running to block a channel. He's doing that all the time. And like I say, it goes unnoticed because it's just part of his job. The ball's elsewhere. Someone else is moving with the ball to block a pass and block space. But he's got to get round. He's got to get round again. And then we win possession back, and he's got to get in space for a flick on, which he wins a lot of the time, and the smart flick ons as well. He's not just getting it on and open somewhere. He knows where players are around him, so he does work so hard. And I have the same fear as you. Every game so far I can remember, he's had a bit of a knock, or he's had a little bit of a limp. There were today where he's had a bit of a limp. You think, like I say, if he goes off, and it's no disrespect to Tyrone Simpson and Keane Harrott, but that would have been such a loss. It would have been such a loss. Though every time he has a bit of a limp, I just if he watches this, just like give a thumbs up nice and early, so we know it's like
just a Johnny in the Kilner bank.
It's a bit of pain, but he's gonna be all right in 5 minutes, because those 5 minutes when he's limping around, I think I'm just looking at the rest of the games of the season, thinking, well, that's it then, we're done, aren't we? Because no, he does bring something really unique, and he works so hard, and obviously he's got a great relationship with Warnock, and Warnock kind of nailed his colours to the mast nice and early, didn't he, with Danny Ward saying that he belled him and said, how are you feeling? Said I was fit. He said, right, well, you're playing, and I don't think he's looked back, and he's been an integral part, as many have, but he's been an integral part to what we do, how we play, and what Warnock's trying to get out of this team. Yeah,
I think one thing, Matt, that seems to be different. Again, it might be just deception because we're winning games, but when you think of the goals of Ward at Millwall, Keane Harrott against Watford, and even to a certain extent today, Rudoni, it's like people gambling, people kind of, making runs in front of guys and stuff like that. So we've just not seen that enough in that as well. And it's almost, I don't know, actually, I'm sure Father would say it, it's almost like, lads, you don't commit yourself too much because we don't want you to get caught out. But I don't know now, it's guys who seem to like, it was a sensational goal that Karoma had it. We'll talk about Watford game later, but it's just like today Rudoni just like ghosted in and just kept going and going, where I'm thinking before the Rudoni of, a month or two back or what, so they were back to the edge of the box, and then with, Ungbo had got there and they were like, who's to pass, and it had been cleared. It's just that confidence, and surely it's belief from Jepson and Warnock to say to these guys, come on guys, get back yourself.
It's just keeping things basic. It was just a really straight run in, wasn't it, from attacking midfield. And we're all about the penalty boxes now. We don't really care much for the football outside of the two penalty boxes, do we? We just, defensively, we're absolutely, there's people throwing. Matty Pearson must have made, I think he made 4 blocks today, Matty Pearson. He was absolutely phenomenal in throwing himself in there. And anyone who's played football when it's rainy and it's cold knows if the ball is struck and it hits you around the sort of like kidney areas or the hip, it stings and it makes you feel sick, doesn't it? And he took like 3 of those, did Matty Pearson today. Phenomenal.
Him and Brenton Diaz were worth the admission fee.
Yeah, good one.
Sensational battle, and they're both talking to each other. I think there was just big respect there, really, rather than kind of trash talking. It were fantastic. And Brenton Diaz, how he didn't get a goal today, he'll never know, because he worked his socks off just like his team. It was just a great game, man.
I've got to be honest. I thought Blackburn were excellent. I thought they were very, very good, and they so impressed me at the back. They really impressed me with how they recycle possession, how quickly they managed to play around Danny Ward and Rudoni. Because today Warnock's tried to change the system a little bit. He's gone. I was driving in, listening to Radio Leeds, and Oggy and Matt Glennon was saying, "Oh, Town are going to line up in a 4-4-2," and I was sat there thinking, 4-4-2. That's a little bit unusual. And they were sort of saying Jack Rudoni will be up front, and I was like, not sure about that. It sounds more like a 4-2-3-1 type system to me, but they were absolutely spot on. Rudoni and Danny Ward in particular, I think, were there because Blackburn are so good at bringing the ball out from the back and so good at passing out from the back. But honestly, they were phenomenal at Blackburn, and the 2 fullbacks as well. Rankin Costello was all over the shop with Jonny. You were saying in take 1 of this podcast, weren't you? He was phenomenal. And Blackburn was so quick at moving to the halfway line, and they essentially just pinned us in for a good 80 minutes of this game. I thought they were so good at manipulating the ball. Kaminski's really good with the ball at his feet. The goalkeeper, the centre backs. There's something in the first a sort of situation in the first half where we put the ball long, and the right-sided centre back for Blackburn just played a first-time cushioned layoff to the left-sided centre back, and he just brought it straight out. And I was sat there thinking, that's top class, is that? That's Premier League. But the difference really between Blackburn and their neighbours Burnley, is that when we put the ball in the box, you could tell there was a little soft underbelly there, couldn't you, with Blackburn? And we sort of mixed it and matched it. And you can see maybe why Blackburn have won half their games and lost the other half without drawing much, because they go for it, don't they, Kosi? They're a decent side, and I enjoy watching them.
It's bizarre, isn't it? I think they've nearly won half and lost half the games. I think it's like 16 and 30. I can't remember. It's such a they've got a weird ratio. At one point, they had a minus goal difference, didn't they? When they were up in the third place or something like that.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But I mean, I don't know. I've kind of thrown it back to you. I mean, like second half, we only had 17% ball. They had 13 shots. They had 9 corners. Do you think that's just conditioned that we had 2-0 up and we were something to cling to, or I just kind of think of it. How would it pan out if it were 0-0 and stuff? Is it just would they have the ascendancy? Because
I think we talked about possession, haven't we? We talked about possession, and possession's been our Achilles heel all season. Our inability to keep the ball has just been phenomenally poor, hasn't it, Johnny? For a long time, really. Even last season, we were really poor in possession at times. Even for a team finishing third, the amount of misplaced short passes was unbelievable, really. But there's games like today, we miss Lewis O'Brien so much. Because Lewis O'Brien wins so many second balls today. And not only does he win the ball, he dribbles the length of the field and gets you into the final third. You know, Lewis's passing isn't amazing by any stretch, but, you know, that what he would have done today, he would have dragged us from one box to the other. And, you know, we miss him. And Kasumu tries to do a similar role at times, and he did it once or twice today. But today we missed Lewis O'Brien. We missed somebody. We missed being able to hold possession and hold on to the ball. And that really that forces us backwards. And that's why I don't think this 20% possession is really sustainable in the long run. But in the short term, now to the end of the season, it doesn't matter. It's all about the points. But in the long run, it's not really sustainable. You will lose a lot more matches than you win, Johnny.
Yeah, you took the words right out there with Lewis O'Brien. And do you know what I mean, there are rarities. I was going to say that's why he's playing where he is, but probably a bit of a sore subject at the moment. We'll skim past that one. I think
he lost on his debut as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
They lost 2-0 on his debut, yeah.
But I mean, there's under no illusions Lewis O'Brien will come back to English football and will certainly make a career for himself, no doubt about that. But I think we've got a lot of players who do a lot of things really good. We don't really have a player who I'd say is really comfortable on the ball. I think Blackburn had everybody in their squad, I'll say, would be really comfortable on the ball. And I'm not just saying, yeah, Lewis was fantastic getting the ball, picking the ball up off a defender's feet and taking it right up to a striker's feet, and he was exceptional at doing that. But just being able to hold the ball a little bit, a couple of players who are ball players who can just take it around a man, nothing's on, look to play a pass out, get the ball back, beat one man, have another look again. We don't really do that. Probably because we don't necessarily have the players to do that. And there was times that second half where I thought we just need to impact this game a little bit. Because it was just continuous defence. And when we got stuff up there was nobody who you could just give the ball to. You could rely just to hold it, keep a little bit, find a pass, take it and move it a little. There was a little bit of a window in the second half where we created a couple of chances, and there was the Hoggy header came in that spell as well. Which was a good chance, but I mean, it's one of them. But yeah, I think if we're looking into next season, looking how to advance this team, a player who can do that on ball players who can just keep the ball, because they had everyone. I was really impressed with Blackburn today, and I think it's not a Blackburn podcast, but they've got a lot of good players there. They've built a really well balanced team, and a lot of players have come through their academy as well.
Fantastic, yeah. Tony Carr's, what a guy!
Recognition for that. And you look at some of those players, you think, yeah, if we could have one or two, someone could just do that and could just carry the ball and just keep the ball. It would have made a difference. I think that's where we do struggle against those kind of teams that are very quick, defense advance out. Quite a few times today, the centre backs moved forward, and they kept moving forward, and you could see Town players not sure whether to push to the centre back, because obviously that then they've left their man, which creates a problem and a gap, or let them keep advancing. A few times you get the fans getting a little bit, someone needs to press here. But it's because they're so comfortable, and they were very quick, like you say, to turn the corner. Everyone could receive the ball wherever they were on the pitch. So Costello,
so well.
Yeah, Costello was exceptional, and he's in left wing for the goal, but he's playing right back. So it just shows Jimmy how technically good they are. But they've worked at it, and they've had a coaching for a decent period of time. Championship. So that's Hyam
and Carter. I think it was Carter. I really like this number 17 Carter, which I'd never really heard of him before. But Hyam, who came for a lot of money in the summer, was
Coventry's, and but that's the thing. You got to look at we're like Kosi said, we're sat here, and when we left the ground, I was a bit disappointed. I think that's just natural when you've been to up when it's 2-2 and you've conceded so late. But if you look at where Blackburn are as a club and where they've been this year versus where we are, and you're coming out disappointed to get a point, only get a point, it just shows how far we've come, because guarantee a team like that would have just wiped the floor with us.
Yeah. I mean, their manager says it's their best performance of the season, so that tells you.
They were exceptional. They're absolutely exceptional, and they are inconsistent, and it's a shame that we've got Blackburn absolutely on song today. But we have got Blackburn absolutely on song, and we've managed to score 2 goals. We've defended exceptionally in the sense of that last action to stop a goal. Can't fault players for that. Vaclik, I thought, was exceptional as well, and we've got a point. So it's a good point. It's a good point. And as the hours go by, I'm getting happier about the point.
Yeah, I sold you a dream with Tomas Vatslick. I kind of feel a bit guilty that he's.
Well, let's talk about him now, Kosi, and I want to throw it to you because Zach has written a nice little article about Josh Karoma's redemption, which you can now see on our website as well. But another redemption really is Tomas Vatslick, a man that, Clem, the goalkeeper coach, really fought for, and he had a really slow start. And Kosi, you were saying how good he was, weren't you? Because you've seen him a lot in Spain, but he looked incredibly sluggish. In his debut, he was really slow out to the first goal we conceded, and then that video at Wigan really, fans were hammering him, weren't they, as he's limping along against Wigan, and then he goes off injured. But now over the last month, after that Bristol City game, really, where he made that save, that flying save in the first half, he's really looked a lot better, hasn't he? And he's really shown what a good keeper he is, and he used to be amazing, didn't he? But he's still showing he's still got that, and it was terrific today, mate. Man of the match, 9 saves. Incredible.
Yeah, 9 saves and 6 in the second half. 15 shots they had in our box. It was like the Alamo, wasn't it? Second half, it was unbelievable. But
like the what?
Yeah, Alamo. It felt.
Yeah.
I've always felt a bit guilty, to be honest with you, because obviously Vatslick, when I watched Seville, was sensational, and you know what Seville's like. It's like 34, 35 degrees in February, so a wet, cold, pouncing down day at the John Smiths with a kind of a big Blackburn team and that as well. You thought, oh my God, but what a performance as well. I thought you were absolutely sensational, and he deserved that look off the post and that as well. That was an incredible. I was right at the side of that. It seemed to take forever. I thought it was going in, and it just trickled back, didn't it? And that's all. Even with the goal, the equaliser, got him because he made a fantastic save from it and that as well. But again, everyone were out on the feet. There was no one following up, sadly, apart from the Rovers player, and 2-2, really good. I think we're kind of falling a bit lucky, really, Matt, to kind of have an experience, because we mentioned before, I think Billows did a good job, but would you really want him in this pressure cooker situation? He wouldn't let anyone down, but I just think he can't be experienced. And as well as stuff in the air, Matt, as well, I don't feel like he kind of, even if it's a bit small, he's kind of not flapping and stuff. I feel confident when the ball's in the air as well. So I think today we saw what it's all about as well. And to be honest, it'd have been justice probably not for Blackburn, but for me, if that save, I don't know, he'd have pushed it and someone would have cleared it away, because he probably deserved the win. He were absolutely gutted. And their goal, the first goal, was sensational from them. Sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up, haven't you? Tom Lees were like, where has it gone? And
him and Hoggy were just like, weren't they?
Yeah, it was just sexy football as well, but brilliant game. But yeah, I was really pleased that he showed his true colours today and that as well. And obviously, any prospective people wanting to sign him next year, look at that, I think, yeah. But he's never really been fit, has he? And trouble is business end, it's game after game, 2 games a week. And we saw what we were about today with great performance.
Yeah. Let's go back to Friday then. Watford 2, Huddersfield Town 3. Young Porritt's going mental in the away end. What a crazy game this. I mean, what were you guys thinking when we went 1-0 down? Asprilla cuts in and slots one in the corner. Vatslick, not really any chance, had he? Watford on a playoff push, and Wilder 1, Warnock 0. Did you see what was going to come once that goes in?
I don't think I could say I saw what was coming, but do you know what? It was weird that I just had like a weird feeling when 1-0 down. Just like, well, it doesn't matter, does it? Because of what we've just gone and done. So I kind of, I didn't think it was going to be what it was, but I certainly didn't think that's it. game over, which we've done so many times, haven't we? How many times we've said in this podcast, we go 1-0 down, that's it, game over. I didn't have that. Yeah, I didn't have that feeling. I just thought, there's more in this game, and that's not just. I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, isn't it? But I did generally, I thought there's certainly more to come.
I think timing of the goals are big. I mean, like today, their goal, 46 minutes 59 or whatever it was, and nightmare just started the second half. It sets the precedent. I think just if they'd have gone in one in front at half time, I'm thinking, Warnock could have got his heads up, don't get me wrong, but I think Watford, on the back of that awful display against Luton, they'll go in thinking, fair enough, but the fact that we scored when we did, it was brilliant. And Jack Rudoni, who hadn't scored a goal, obviously, all season until this point, the old proverbial London buses 2-2, but beautiful finish because he still had quite a bit to do there. They were very calm. And
it was a bad first touch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's get that stat out there. Jack Rudoni, 42 games, 3,126 minutes, and he finally scored the first touch. Well, it wasn't a bad touch. It probably wasn't an ideal one, was it? And you've got to say, it's a really nice finish, but his dad has been absolutely pivotal in Town's turnaround. He's been bringing this little figurine, hasn't he, of a Ku, the god of war, to the games. And ever since he started doing that, Town have sort of like slowly turned around, haven't they? And so it feels like if you're superstitious, James Rudoni has been the mastermind behind this by bringing this little figurine with him to all the games. And it was lovely as well at the end of the game to see him celebrating with his family as well. There's a really nice clip, wasn't there, as he goes to his mum and dad, and there's some random guy, or what looks to be a random guy, jumping in on it as well, which was all the fun of the away on that day. But he deserves it, doesn't it, Kosi? Because he's been so much improved. He's been so improved over the last month, and it's the decision making really which has improved. Before, he was probably taking one touch too many, maybe trying to overcomplicate or maybe trying to do too much. But since Neil Warnock's came in, he's got him playing, like I say, basic football, do the basics, and it's all following. And he really deserves it. And he gave a really nice interview afterwards. And I tell you what's really good today. I took Charlie today, my 5-year-old, for anyone who doesn't know. And for the last 3 months, he's just been, when he goes to football, he's always going on about how he wants to play like Phil Foden, etc. I'm going to play like Phil Foden or Man City. And I'm just like, all right. But today, he went to the game today with me. And afterwards, I was like, did you like watching anyone today? And he went, yeah, I like Jack Rudoni. And I was like, right, finally, there's someone from Huddersfield Town where he can finally not aspire to, but follow and actually like. And I thought that was quite good. And what a nice boy! What a nice boy as well to aspire to.
People, mate. I know Fotheringham banged on about being a good lad, but I love humble people. Everyone's different, wired up for different. There's people who are Kean Harrett fancies himself, don't he? And that's all. Come on to him in a minute, but yeah, lovely interview. And you can't help but think, Warnock says as well, as a lovely lad. You can't help but wanting people like that to do well. So the longer the season goes, the more frustrated he must get. But fantastic, and it feels like we've got a new signing now, Matt. The way he slotted it in, but just coming out of our second goal,
Matty Pearson again.
The slowest. I can't remember if watching a game of football when a header has took 10 minutes to go in. It was incredible. It was I still watch it now, thinking it's not going to go in or it's going to be saved by.
It's Danny Ward's phantom touch, isn't it? Which kind of throws everybody, the keeper.
I guess you'll probably know more than us, being a keeper, but I'll watch that and just think it's just an impossible situation, isn't it? Because you kind of expect Danny Ward to be able to get there, and if he can't necessarily move to try and catch the ball because he's waiting for a touch, but then there's no touch, and then he's waited too long, and it makes him look stupid. But it must be such an impossible situation because you can't.
You've got to make a choice. You either go for the cross and you look an idiot if you're at the other side of the goal when Danny Ward sticks it down the middle where you stood, or you just, it's all about percentages, isn't it, football at times, and you've got to play the percentage, and he's obviously thought Danny Ward's going to get a touch. He doesn't, and then the ball just trickles into the far corner and makes him look a bit slow on his feet. Yeah,
I agree with
it
you.
Hits the post as well.
It just looks like, what's happened?
Kisses the post as well, and everyone's going mental.
He might have looked an idiot then, Matt, but he looked an even big idiot later on in the game. I mean, what were he thinking? He'd lost. He just lost it, hadn't he? And sometimes in life, like Cantona with the.
I couldn't believe that was tweeted out, and there's people going, "That's never a yellow card, isn't it? He's not touched him," and it's like the intent's there to take his bloody head off. It's like, for me, that's just straight red. You know, it's mad. It wasn't even a second yellow. It's a straight red. Is that? He's lunged at Matty Pearson's head. Whether he's made contact or not is absolutely irrelevant. It's
he just made contact
reckless.
with his ankles as well.
With the other foot.
So
yeah, but
I'd probably say
reckless.
it's a yellow for that, and then a red for the. If you were to analyse it. So how you can say it's not? It's shocking.
But to be honest, it wasn't even a free kick in the first place. The Assombalonga's thrown himself on the ground, hasn't he, in front of Tom Lees, and it's not a free kick in the first place. So if they'd have scored from that, I'd have been absolutely livid. But just before that, though, Kosi, there's a question that every Watford defender's got to ask himself, and that's: there's a rat in the box. What are you gonna do? Cian Harratt comes off the bench.
That one, Matt.
First touch.
Brilliant play from Karoma. Let's not.
Do you know what? If you watch it again, it might be an own goal, but we won't take it away from Cian Harratt just yet. But Karoma, brilliant. He's been amazing, hasn't he, in the last month? He's the threat he brings, and he's completely rejuvenated our forward line and everything, hasn't he? And then he's whipped the ball, and Cian Harratt darts, and that's such a Jordan Rhodes type run as well, isn't it? He's just come on. Run. And he's just made that near post run. And Harratt is just, I don't think it matters at what level what level he's playing at. He could finish at any level, could Cian Harratt. It's just about getting the chances to him. And he's made a brilliant run, and he's got his head on it, and he's deserved it. It's a great goal. And you love seeing local boys. I love his interviews with Cian Harratt because he's so Yorkshire, isn't he? And it's just, I love watching his interviews because he's just like, just got head on ball and ball went in net. It's just like, but he's another quite likable character, and that was, apart from we'll gloss over previous.
I think it sums up Neil Warnock's spell at Huddersfield Town. That there's only Neil Warnock could sling a guy on like that with 2-1 up. You think anyone else would go safety first, sling a defender on experienced midfielder? No, we'll sling a guy in from the B team who's kind of got pinned off by Bradford City. But like I say, we don't talk about them reasons. And Cian Harratt just does that. It's just incredible.
Does it remind you of Phil Starbuck against Burnley in about 92-3, round about there, where he came on a sub for a corner, didn't he? And the ball came in and Starbuck headed it into the top corner with his first touch.
It's like,
brilliant.
Town, right? So everyone else, you're thinking, right, 3-1, we've got that cushion. But the classic Town, we have to give a goal away, and it was a pretty deflating one as well. And I agree with Warnock with today. I thought Vatslick should have done better, but he would have he hit it well, Sombalonga. But and then we have heart attack failure. I know obviously Batman did what he did, but he's classic. He's putting that ball on that sideline for that free kick at the end, and I'm thinking this is just Huddersfield Town all over. Why is nothing ever seen out comfortably with a cigar in his mouth? It never happened for Town, and I'm just thinking that's going to go in, and luckily it doesn't. But honestly, the high blood pressure tablets I'm taking needs to be trebled, I think, for the running. Madness.
He's horrendous, isn't it? He's horrendous. The only one correction I'd just say there, Matt, I'd call it an Andy Booth near post run rather than a John.
Andy Booth.
He was the original near post runner. But it is painful, isn't it? And like you say, you almost think you sit there a few weeks ago and there's no pressure, and you go into games and you're thinking, no, it doesn't matter because you still got respect for your club and you want to do well. But the writing was on the wall, and that's that. And then you go into games today, and you're excited, you're looking forward to it. And you get into not 1 o'clock because it was early kickoff today, but you're starting to get nervous, and I don't know. It's gonna be horrible, isn't it? It's gonna be a journey, but it's gonna be stressful to say the least.
But Matt, it's what it comes down to. You say, mate, if you can't keep the ball, we never can. You're going to get these games game in, game out. So
we've got Swansea coming up, haven't we? And Swansea are masters at keeping the ball, and that's going to be an uncomfortable watch if we can't get a foothold somewhere. It's going to be. We just need to make sure that we can get out. It's all about the out ball and being able to get out and then stretch the game again. And we really struggled against Blackburn today to get out. And Josh Karoma did it in points, but for me, the midfield is just so uncomfortable at passing and moving. Hoggy, bless him, he's not. Never has been a passer and mover, has he? And Kasumu's not particularly either. But, I think the only thing to sort of speak about in terms of the Watford game, what an amazing win it was as well. But no handshake at the end, Kosi. Warnock versus Wilder rumbles on. I did watch for that, and there was no. Warnock was straight out, not shaking hands with anyone. Yeah, absolutely not. It seems to be a strange beef, doesn't it? Because it's like almost an unheard of one, isn't it, Kosi? But you went on a Watford podcast and they sort of helped set you straight.
I think they're like Wilder because, a bit like Warnock, he says what he thinks, and I think they see there's got a lot of guys who don't care at the club, including the owner. So yeah, the guys had a great podcast with the guy. I think probably got sued for libel. I'm expecting a letter through the letterbox soon about some of the stuff that was said. But yeah, they're out of love with their team. But I kind of listened to that and thought, as much as that is, you know, they've got like Pedro, they've got Sobol, they've got some absolute gun players, and you're still thinking, I get what you're saying, guys, but for us to go down there and win's a big ass. So when score came through, because I didn't watch it live and we were 1 down, I thought, fancy, and then incredible for us to turn it around. But, yeah,
fantastic. Well done to Town. It's been an unbelievable Easter, really, hasn't it? It's been. I thought 2 points max. I'll be honest. I had us down for 2 points max. So to get double that 4, I know it hurts a little bit, doesn't it? Losing a last minute win like we did, or conceding an equaliser even in the last minute. And Vatslick, I thought initially at the time maybe could have pushed it away, but watching it back, it's actually a really good save. And fortunately, Ryan Hedges has just followed it in the right slot, hasn't he? But 4 points from 6. Unbeaten in 5, are we now? It's
5, yeah.
It's really superb, and you know, said it last week because you weren't on it, but fucking love Neil Warnock, absolutely. You know,
I was so planning out though,
absolute legend, and Ronnie.
All of a sudden, it's gone from like there was us 3 battling with Blackpool and Wigan, and can we even get above them? And then forget about anyone else above. Can we even get above them? All of a sudden, they look doomed, and obviously the points deduction helped us. Mick McCarthy, who I thought would do a decent job at Blackpool, and ironically, the old boys going back. It's not Roy Hodgson worked beautifully for him on Sunday, of course, and you know McCarthy outworked out. I thought he'd do quite well, and obviously that I
thought he'd do better. I didn't think he'd save them, but I thought he'd done better than what he had.
Well, when they got that goal, when that ridiculous cock up from us, when it was 2-2, I thought they'd go on, but they never have, and so all of a sudden it looks like them two are doomed, and now you're looking at above, and there's so many subplots in it all, and that as well. We've got Reading, who obviously we had the famous
last game of the season. That's got me nervous, as that Reading game, the last game of the season.
I still thinks of that Birmingham, because I'm looking at these other teams and all this. I'm thinking, oh my God, I remember driving to that game.
That Macari season, we got out as well. We were bottom of 3 for ages, and then we got out, didn't we? And then got sucked back in right at the death. So don't take anything for granted.
Warnock's managed every team in England and that as well. There's always subplots. Got Cardiff, obviously, you know, be there.
Sheffield United and Cardiff, two of the last
Saturday, so he'll be about as likeable as Putin down there. So he's going to be they're going to be slaughtering him there every game. Sheffield United, hopefully they're up and out of it. But knowing Town, it doesn't matter that Sheffield United might be like 2 days on the gas and they've been promoted, because Town will make it. You just know it's probably going to go to the last game, and I don't want it to. But can you imagine sitting here after that knowledge doing a podcast saying, well, you know, I'd be disappointed if it goes to the last game. Shut up.
We're checking it back then.
If it had gone to the last game with a sniff of a chance, we'd have been all over it, wouldn't we? But honestly, I'm sat here thinking, if we can just make sure we're 3 points above Reading with a healthy goal difference at least before the end of the season, I'll be so happy. But
these next two games are massive though. This is a little window now where we play 2 teams who haven't got anything to play for.
So I don't know, Sunderland are just about
like
still kicking out, still sort of alive and kicking out.
Depends what they do, doesn't it? Depends what they do when we play Swansea. But I think they're not certainly going to have the desire that you saw.
They're not as good at home as they are away from home, Sunderland. But
yeah, so I think this is a little window where this is a little window where I think if we continue,
we need to win one of these. I think.
Yeah, and I think they are. I think they are winnable. I'm just trying to, and that's where I think we can get some out of this, and maybe like we're in a situation where the Cardiff game, you might be looking at it, the table might look differently, but I think we've got 2 games now that you've got to be targeting to get the. Obviously, the Cardiff game is a different because it's a 6-pointer and equally a Reading game, but I'm just confident that these 2 games that we really can push on and continue that run us to hopefully, like I say, we get that bit of a gap where.
Yeah. Well, you look at it, and
on that last
Reading have got Luton and Burnley, the next 2, I think. So if we can pick up a win and wedge what would be 5 points in front, I think, is it 5 or 4 or 5 points at that point? I think it's 4, isn't it? So if we can just get a couple, get that window or that buffer in now, it'd be absolutely phenomenal, wouldn't it? But like I say, this is the Championship, and you cannot take anything for granted. Reading could sack Paul Ince tonight by all accounts, and therefore win the next couple of games because they might get the bounce because Paul Ince is incredibly unpopular there. But Birmingham are probably safe, but anything down from there, I think Rotherham down is probably still worried. But Rotherham have hit that magic 45 points mark now. But it seems now that 45 might not be enough.
I've watched a lot of Rotherham games, Matt. Michelle Owen was saying today on Sky Sports that the average team to staying up is 43 points, and it's unbelievable that we're going to have to.
It's going to be more this year, yeah.
More, but I've watched Rotherham a few times. I watched the game on Friday, and that's what made it impressive.
Their midfield's good. Rotherham's midfield's really good, and Ogbenny's decent for them as well.
Taylor there, they're good, and I think it might get to a stage where we might need to be. I think their game against Cardiff is just before our game against Cardiff. Like I tell you what, talk between yourselves, I'll find that, but. That game is absolutely massive, but it's being rearranged. Let's have a quick look.
Is it the same week we play Sheffield United, or is it around
7th of April? So,
right. All right, okay.
7th of April, and then they play Middlesbrough and Wigan away. But I think my only concern is, and you mentioned it before, Matt, you can't keep doing it on 20% possession. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of guts and stuff. And Swansea, bloody hell, I don't think there's many people better on the ball in the division than them. So. Again, chasing about, and I get, look at the table, but what have we got left? But then the adrenaline and run through a brick wall of Warnock, I think hopefully he'll see us through, but there's still so long way to go.
Swansea looked like they were on the beach a couple of weeks ago. They looked like they were there for, they looked like they were there for us to maybe go and win, but they've just won 2 games in a row and won well, haven't they? I think they won away at Cardiff, didn't they? And they won today as well. So Swansea are all of a sudden clicking back in and wanting to finish strongly. And I don't think you get, like, do you remember in the 90s, Kosi, when you were down at the bottom, if you got a mid-table team 3 or 4 games from the end, you were laughing, weren't you? Because they were on the beach, and on the beach was a real thing then. I don't think that happens as much anymore. I think teams constantly push now to the end of the season. I don't think many sort of just switch off, do they, at this stage of the season? I think maybe 1 or 2 before, but not 5 or 6.
That's right. That's a bit where I'm trying to work out with this Sheffield United game, because if we played them when we meant to play them, you'd have a full throttle Sheffield United going for second spot. More than likely, I know they've lost tonight, but more than likely they'll secure promotion by the time we play them. But I just don't like the fact we've got a game in that midweek before the Reading game, because I think the way we play, and you saw a little bit of it today, that it does require a lot of fitness, does require a lot of freshness. It's so much harder to chase the ball mentally than it is to be on the attack when you're tired. And now the game's moved 1 day closer again to the Reading game. I just don't know whether it's a positive or a negative, really. I guess time will tell.
Strange. The Cardiff game's moved us a little bit as well, hasn't it? So
and end of the day, like you say, it doesn't matter, doesn't it? It's not going to be the be all and end all, and it could swing in our favour. But I don't know. I just don't like things being tweaked and changed, and I feel
that's why I think we need a win, don't we?
Yeah, I do.
We need a win.
Let's be honest. Sky Sports are hoping that everything's riding on the game at Ninian Park, which obviously Warnock back to his old team, and bloody hell, I think I'll go and set the alarm clock for silly o'clock and that as well. Good of the club. Don't know who's funding that, whether it's EFL, Sky Bet, or anyone, or even the club. To put these coaches on. I think. Because I think everyone else will, oh my God, 12 o'clock on a Sunday for such a huge game. But fingers crossed, it maybe it's not as huge as it kind of looks now. But Cardiff interests me because obviously Blackpool, that were incredible. The 3-1 after next to no time. And today they must have thought Sunderland at home, and again, nothing to play for. That's a bad result for them today. And their last game is against their last game's at Burnley. And like you say, you just don't know, do you?
Don't know what, but remember when we went to Man City when they'd won the title and we got a point there, we'd have probably never got in a million years, would we? If they hadn't won the title, if they weren't lifting the trophy that day. Yeah. So you never know. We just need to concentrate on ourselves, don't we? And
I think on Saturday, shifting at Cardiff, the lunchtime one. So hopefully Blades can do us a favour. I've not looked. They've probably got. I'd have thought, beat tonight with the 10 men, but. Yeah, shipping out of Cardiff again. You can see it's interesting that the Premier League they talk about, don't they? Like Man City playing before Arsenal, blah blah blah. But again, we'll know when we go take the pitch against Swansea whether we can get it on against Cardiff. But it's unbelievable to be in this position because I'd given it up. I'd mentally prepared myself for relegation. I know you should never put anything up. Rick Astley were right about when he sung it, but obviously it's.
And do you know what? Today as well, the two of our best managers, take Warnock out of the equation, and probably the 2 best managers we've had in the last 20, 30 years, Carlos Corberán and David Wagner shafting us today with, not winning home games against Rotherham and QPR. It's going to be a mad league.
Yeah.
Mad league. I think the last point really before we end the podcast is really Alan Nixon has been all about Town lately, hasn't he? Weekly stories from him, and this week he's linked Michael Duff, the Barnsley manager, with our head coach position at the end of the season if Neil Warnock retires as they expect, or he expects. See, Michael Duff, I've noticed a bit of a theme in the last 3 weeks, really, with the Alan Nixon stories, and that's 3 weeks ago it was Phil Rawlins was going to be the CEO, and then the week after Mark Cartwright was going to be the director of football, and now Michael Duff's going to be the head coach, and they are all linked with the same player agency, and we know that Alan Nixon likes to get his info from agents, and they're all clients of Vaclik's, who I believe have helped Kevin Nagel with the takeover of Huddersfield Town. So it's interesting that the information's coming out. I'm not going to accuse Vaclik of giving it to Alan Nixon, but it's interesting that it's all coming from the same agency really at the minute, and it's going to be interesting to see if they have any involvement with Huddersfield Town moving forward as well. But because their client list I wouldn't say it's particularly amazing, to be honest. A lot of it's based over in America, but so that's going to be an interesting one to follow. Obviously not worrying about that until the end of the season because we've still got Neil Warnock. But for me, Neil Warnock keeps us up, Kosi. Is he number one above Wagner and Buxton?
Yeah, someone, a big Palace fan, me, he loves Neil Warnock because obviously did a great job down there. Says, what do you reckon? Would you think he'd stay next season if he kept you up and stuff? You know what? And part of me just wants him to ride off into the sunset. I'm sure his missus is saying the same, but
if he keeps us up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy thing. I just want that to happen, Matt. I know it sounds bad. I don't want stuff to be spoilt in the same way I didn't want Wagner to come back, which obviously probably.
No, I was the same. Yeah, I was the same. I didn't want it. Yeah.
I just want this amazing, spectacular, resurrection that he's done for us, and to go back there, go and get his fishing done and that as well. I think he'd regret it to come back. And I was saying to someone today, he's Warnock just been one of those games. Guy now, but in March, he's just going to get his phone on February. He's just going to be a red again, and for clubs and stuff coming in, he's just incredible. I like what Kevin Nagel's bringing, Matt. I mean, obviously it's going to take a while to go through, but I like his tweets, his social media, very engaging and stuff like that as well. And it kind of makes me mad. I mean, some of the people that even want to come out of the stadium to come to games, and this madman, and it sounds like we've got a lot of Sacramento fans on board. They're getting up at 4:30 to watch some of our games, and it's good, isn't it? It's like he's trying to build this kind of dual support in it, over there to.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of their highlights as well. They won 5-4 the other day, so I thought I'd have a look at that, and it was quite surprisingly quite decent, in terms of quality as well.
Future, I mean, the fact that this guy's committing, even if we go down, which hopefully we won't now, but that's the good thing. It's not like some people, if you stay up, you're going to be struggling again. Maybe like some of the Premier League teams do. But I'm just thinking it could be an exciting future because stay up. So we've just got a different side of the bargain. I think it could be an exciting time to be a Town fan, but as we saw today, we had the total mixture of emotions that we go through, from the joy of the goals to the heartbreak of the point to everything that in between and that as well. It's never dull being a Town fan, and I won't want it any other way.
Jonny, any thoughts on Michael Duff? Just briefly, done pretty well, hasn't he, in his 2 jobs?
Yeah, I think he's a type of manager. I think that we should be looking at. Really, type of manager I wouldn't want another merry-go manager. I don't want someone who's absolutely brand new, going to cut the teeth, which we've kind of done the last 2 times, excluding Warnock. So he fits the mould in that sense. I saw an article in the Examiner that someone he got asked about the Town Link in an interview, and he said he was out with his missus. He was 3 pints deep, and someone came up to him and asked him about it. And he said, "I haven't heard anything about it." So, but he's never going to say he has, even if he has he? But yeah, I think if take it with a pinch of salt. But if that's the type of manager they're looking at, then I'm happy. He fits the mold of the type of manager I think I'd like next season. So, but you never know, do you?
There we go. So it could all change. Yeah, it could all change depending on how they do and how we do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I don't think he could answer the question. I said, would you take it? I think he'd say, let's see what happens at the end of the season, and see where they are. But we're a bigger club than Barnsley, so surely he'd want to come.
Matt, don't you think it's...
I'll get clipped out by Barnsley fans if they pass us now next season.
Absolutely.
Don't you think the fixtures are so weird these days? Whatever happened to home and away, home and away? It's like 3 aways, 2 homes. it's so frustrating. I've never known a season like it when you've got such imbalance between
It's that bloody World Cup, innit?
Yeah,
condensed everything and made it all mental. And Sheffield United have got the semi-final of the FA Cup, which has obviously moved that game as well, hasn't it? But
great. Though. Got to sleep tonight just looking at that table, and it doesn't guarantee anything. But we're in the argument now, aren't we? And
yeah, it's much better. 5 points or so, and you would have it. I think that's it for us this week, isn't it? So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to Magic Rock for sponsoring. Whether it's a happy Easter, Passover, or Ramadan, we love you all. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.